Well, good morning, Brentwood Hills. I'm sorry I couldn't be there with you today. I know my dad is going to have a great time, and I'm hoping that a lot of you will leave not just having learned something new, but you will leave with a tool that you're actually going to be putting to use, because this is a tool that has really impacted a lot of people, myself included. I remember when I first decided to enter into ministry, it wasn't too long after I had become a Christian myself. You see, I lived for a long time basically just as a tool of the devil, an instrument of the devil. I don't know how else to say it. I was into drugs, I worked in the media, I was a radio DJ, and just used all the gifts and talents that God had given me and blessed me with for a long time. Things changed when I was in my early 20s, and some people began reaching out to me, some people my own age in a campus ministry, and I began to reevaluate just my walk with God, and some things that happened in my life that really caused me to believe in God. And I still remember the day my dad set me down, and he took me through himself this Bible study that he's going to go over with you today. And I learned in this study that salvation is a gift from God. I guess even though I grew up in the church, I really thought for a long time that salvation was all about what I could do for God, and not what God has done for me and what God has done for us in Jesus Christ. And so the Romans approach really brought that to light for me. And I ended up giving my life to the Lord. Actually, I waited a couple of weeks after Dad studied with me, but I ended up giving my life to the Lord, and I haven't looked back since. As soon as I got baptized, I began raising money because I wanted to go into ministry, and I wanted to move back and be with this campus ministry group that had initially reached out to me, which was in Tampa, Florida. And so I raised money, and I ended up moving back to serve as an apprentice in this ministry in Tampa. And the first Bible study, first or second one that I went to as an official intern, I remember a guy came named Brent who was new to the area, who had actually moved to Tampa to get away from some of the bad influences in his life. And he shared at the end of this Bible study that he had been involved in drugs and alcohol, and that he had moved with his uncle in Tampa so that he could get away from the stuff that he was dealing with back home, and that he really wanted to make some changes in his life. And so he expressed that in this group setting. And so after the Bible study was over, I went up to him, and I struck up a conversation with him and just asked him some questions about and related kind of my experience, and found out we had a lot in common just as far as our struggles and everything. And I told him, I remember I told him that I would like to share something that somebody had shared with me one time. And I had my Bible with me, and we went in one of the back bedrooms, and I opened up my Bible, and what I had to share with him was a piece of paper that had this Romans approach on it. And this is the Bible study that my dad, as I said, shared with me. And so I remember my hand was shaking as I opened up the Bible. There was another guy in there with us named Josh, who was also part of the ministry. And I sat down and I walked this guy through this Bible study, just kind of reading it almost. I didn't even know it well enough to really, do what I would think was a good job with it. It was kind of a canned approach. And we got down to the end of that study, and I just knew that I had blown it. I thought seriously, like, there's no way this is going to work. I've done this wrong. I've probably said things wrong. I've made mistakes. And he probably knew I was just reading this in some places. Then we get down to the end of the study, and the guy says, let's go to the church. I want to be baptized. I want to give my life to the Lord tonight. And so I had this Bible study with this guy and thought I'd done a horrible job, and it turns out he gave his life to the Lord, because the power, folks, the power is in the message. It's not necessarily in the messenger. And this is a powerful message. And so, praise God, that guy was the first of many as an apprentice that I was able to study with down there and lead to the Lord. And I actually shared this little simple study with a bunch of other people who also used it and led people to the Lord. And it's one that I've used now for many years, and I have several others that I'll turn to sometimes now too. But the Romans approach is just a core tool for me that I continue to use. Now, the Romans approach is great for people who have a general idea of kind of Christianity, what Christianity is about, just a general idea. This is great for use in the Bible Belt where you are. Some portions of it, you may have to explain a little bit more to others. There's some references like to Abraham and others that you may need to explain, but it really is a good study to use. And another thing, Kinnaman and Lyons came out with a book a while back called Unchristian, which you've probably heard of. They run something called the Barna Group that does national studies all over the United States. And one of the things that they found in their research was that in general, 18 to 34-year-olds in the United States believe that the message of Christianity is that you have to be good enough for God to love you, that you have to be, performing well enough to be saved come judgment. And the Romans approach really abolishes that idea and that kind of thinking by emphasizing what Jesus has done for us, that it's His performance that saves us, that God came to save us and showed His love in sacrificing His Son even while we were sinners, even while we were spitting in the face of God. He gives us this gift of salvation in Jesus Christ. And our response ought to be to what God has done. The life we live ought to be a response to His grace and His mercy and His love, and not some guilt-motivated life of slavery. So, I leave that with you. I encourage you, get a copy of this, carry it around with you, and pray for God to put people in your path that you can minister to. Test me. Don't miss this. Test this. Pray for God to give you opportunities to share this Bible study with other people. And remember that it's not about the messenger. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to say things wrong. You're not going to do it all right. You may even read the whole thing. But the power is in the message, not in the messenger. And you've got in your hand the most powerful message in the world, in the universe, the most powerful thing in the universe, in the gospel of Jesus Christ. Don't forget that. Take this tool and use it. You will change the face of eternity. God will use you as a tool, and we will be fellowshipping with all the people that come to know Jesus as a result of God using you. And that is a powerful, powerful thought. God bless you, Brentwood Hills. Have a good weekend. Leave changed.